that killed, in 2021, that killed 98 people, many of them in their sleep. This tragedy happened because of inaction and poor decisions. I know that you feel that this can't happen to you, but it can. And inaction and only taking care of emergencies is very common in co-ops and condos. That, my friends, is why I wrote this book. Living the high life, to educate and guide smart co-op and condo owners like yourself on how to protect you and your investments. Let's do a temperature check. How many here like to waste money? No? Nobody? Right, raise some hands. How many of you like to save money? Yay! Why would we want to hand extra money to Verizon, Con Edison, or Travelers for services that we don't need or don't use? What if your building was run like a business in a way that created a strong community? What if instead of only taking care of emergencies, you proactively run your building and collectively decide to prioritize quality of life projects? Close your eyes, everybody close your eyes, and imagine yourself standing in a shiny new gym in what is now an empty basement. Or imagine yourself, you can open your eyes. Or imagine yourself sipping in Manhattan on a beautifully landscaped roof garden. Because who wants to be sipping Manhattans on a tar roof? I know, I don't. What if you knew all your neighbors and your board members so that you could confidently share your ideas to make your building a better place to live? That's what I'm here to talk about. Safety, sustainability, and affordability. So when Surfside happened, we had a lot of co-op and condo owners reaching out, asking us, how did we know that the building was safe and wouldn't collapse? Granted, the likelihood of your building collapsing is probably minimal. But the thing is that disasters are not limited to the structure itself. I know that you have, or I'm imagining that you have all heard of the too many horrific elevators, and we have Champion in the house, and just noted that none of them have to do with Champion. Or people getting killed because stuff is falling off facades. Or how about the recent fire in the Bronx that hurt and killed as many people as it did only because they didn't follow the law that requires self-closing doors? Makes you think, huh? Do you have self-closing doors? Then there were all the disasters that the media doesn't cover, like leaks and burst pipes. You can only imagine how much damage a burst water pipe in a penthouse can cause in all the apartments all the way down to the first floor. I actually have one friend. He came home to his second floor apartment only to find his third floor neighbor's bathtub in his bathroom. These disasters are often the result of inaction and only taking care of emergencies. What if we could take a proactive approach to community living, making sure that your building takes care of all the risks before they turn into emergencies? Let's switch gears to sustainability. I'm sure that you have all noticed that you have a big fat D posted at the entrance of your building. Let's just check here. How many of you would go to a restaurant that does not have an A? No? Nobody? So if I invite you to a D restaurant, I'm going to have to go along? Yeah, a majority of New Yorkers have their largest lifetime investment in a building that is D-rated. Well, at least it's not X-rated, right? These letter regs pertain to energy use and carbon emissions. New York City decision makers passed their version of a Green New Deal with a goal to make New York City carbon neutral by 2050, which sounds good, right? Their argument is that buildings account for the majority of New York's carbon emission. Well, the last I looked, New York was nothing but buildings. And Central Park alone ain't gonna solve our problem. If buildings do nothing to reduce its energy use, it will face fines of hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. There are a few ways that we can avoid those fines, and one of them is to electrify. And what does that mean? This means that the steam pipes that are buried inside of your apartment walls and heat the radiators in apartments will need to be replaced with a completely new system. I'm sure that you were already planning on redecorating your apartment looking like a gym with pipes hanging off the ceilings, right? Unless, of course, you let them rip up your newly wallpapered walls to install the new pipes there. Either way, you can only imagine how expensive and disruptive this will be for a lot of people. You could replace your windows at several thousand per window. This window alone is probably $50,000. How many windows do you have, Mark?
13.
13. That's a lot of money. And another thing that you can do is to do for the building what you do for yourself. So I'm sure that everybody turns their lights off when they go to bed, right? And then most of us probably turn the light off when we leave the apartment. Although I know that that is not always the case. So in my line of work, I go to a lot of empty basements. And the first time I arrive, the lights are always on. Did you know that basements are only occupied 10% of the time? That means that 90% of that electricity is completely wasted. Now, turning those lights off alone, it's not going to solve our problem. But the thing is that every little bit adds up. What if we can all pitch in to take a D to a B to avoid those credit fines? What if we can do our part in making New York City greener and more sustainable? Let's talk about affordability. So I'm sure that you all know that you get the letter from your board or property manager every year telling you that your common charges of maintenance is increasing again. That's what happened to Mark and me when we got the same letter for the 10th year in a row. Only this time, we got it on Christmas Eve. We were literally in the middle of turkey dinner after finishing a fantastic Folsom happy hour when Mark opened the letter mid-bite. Merry Christmas to us. That's when I said to Mark, enough already. We need to run for the board and put an end to these insane increases, or we'll have to move. And we spoke with some of our neighbors, and it turns out that they felt the same way. So we all got together and we organized a coup. So the new board, they were elected, and the new board asked me, because of my analytical background in finance, if I could find some savings. Now, obviously, I'm not a magician. I didn't know at the time if $10,000 for one particular service was high, low, or even normal. So I did what I know from finance, which is to go out and get competitive or get comparables, which were financial statements from other buildings. And once I had enough data, we made some phone calls, eliminated some services, got some competitive bids, and in the first 3 years, we were able to save the building To this day, the new board ended up not increasing maintenance for 8 years. All while doing some major renovations, completely upgrading the building, installing tons of amenities, all which increases property values. Is your board mismanaging your building by only taking care of emergencies? What if you volunteer to your board so that you can collectively take a proactive approach and make sure that you protect your own and your neighbor's investments? Is it going to be a lot of extra work on your behalf to volunteer your time and expertise? Absolutely. And I know what you're all thinking. Who's got time for that, right? I know you're busy with business, running or work, running your own business, family, hobbies you care more about. But the thing is that if everyone pitches in, we can turn things around from only taking care of emergencies to become a proactively run building. We might finally be able to get that gym or roof garden, or even prevent maintenance from increasing, all which in effect increases your property value. What if you volunteer to the board and then bring in a co-op and condo consultant, like my firm, the Folsom Group, to help the board become proactive by making it safer, more sustainable, and more affordable? Raise your glasses, I guess. Here's to better buildings. Cheers. I'm going to take some selfies. Don't go anywhere. I need selfies.